the audience may answer, and then maybe we'll start. So I'll just let you know that someone from Rouse, Grace, she will open the discussion first. She'll open the talk first, and then she'll explain a little bit, and then I'll just talk a little bit about the curation and also our exhibition, and then I'll leave it to you to discuss a bit about Al-Amin Archive, and then some questions from the audience.
Hello, Raya. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Grace from Bandung Photography Month. So we'll try to start in a few minutes. Oke, teman-teman, kita akan mulai Zoom-nya karena Rayanya sudah datang juga dan sudah lebih dari jam 7. Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this exciting episode on photography monumentally and the mechanism of chronology, the Al-Amin Archive as counter-narrative. We are thrilled to have you with us today as we delve into an important and true provocative conversation about how photography can act as a powerful counter-narrative, challenging dominant historical structures and bringing to light stories that have often been marginalized or forgotten. It is our pleasure to host Raya Mana, the artist and curator behind the Al-Amin Archive, whose work explores the intersection of history, memory, and resistance through photography. Through her meticulous curatorial practice and artistic vision, Raya invites us to rethink the ways in which image and archive can be used not just as records, but as tool as information, offering new perspective and amplifying voices that have been silenced for too long. Thank you so much for Raya Mana. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to Raya for accepting our invitation to showcase her work here at Bandung Photography Month in Bandung. It's an honor to collaborate with you and to provide a platform for your essential works with the themes Tanah Air. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the role of our esteemed moderator, Hajar Hanfah Azahra, who will guide us through today's discussion. We are in for a truly enlightened and inspired conversation. With that, I now hand over the session to our moderator, Hajar Hanfah. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage. Thank you, Hajar Hanfah.
Thank you, Grace. So I'm going to kind of switch between English and Indonesian for our discussion. So I think before we enter to talk about Raya Mana's work, Al-Amin Archive, I just want to talk a bit about how the exhibition, This Is Not a Museum, came to be. So I'll start in Indonesian first. So jadi kita awal mulanya dari This Is Not a Museum, pameran This Is Not a Museum sendiri itu karena dari tema Bandung Photography Month-nya sendiri, dan temanya sendiri itu tentang tanah air, tentang homeland, atau tentang kedekatan kita dengan apa yang kita sebut mungkin rumah, atau kita sebut dengan tanah air. Dan di situ juga di Bandung sendiri, karena situasi kita di Bandung sendiri, kita sendiri punya mungkin legasi atau sejarah dengan ide keterdekatan kita dengan tanah kita sendiri. Kalau kita kaitkan dengan ide nasionalisme lah atau ide kemerdekaan lah, kita itu kuat sendiri kan. Kita lihat dari mungkin titik sentralnya mungkin dari 1955 di mana terjadi konferensi Asia Afrika, dan di konferensi itu sendiri ide dan semangat atau spirit atau ideologi yang muncul itu ideologi anti kolonialisme dan ideologi anti imperialisme, di mana kita menentang keras kolonialisme, menentang keras penjajahan, dan membangun solidaritas antara negara-negara di global selatannya sendiri. Dan di Bandung itu sendiri, kebetulan Bandung Photography Month itu biasanya juga di daerah-daerah Asia Afrika atau di daerah-daerah berada di daerah-daerah yang memang sudah ada semacam sejarah situs dan semacam sejarah spasial dan temporalnya sendiri di daerah situ. Jadi mengapa mula dengan This is not a museum dan kenapa tempatnya sendiri juga di Monumen Solidaritas Asia Afrika sendiri, karena monumen itu seingat saya itu dari tahun 2018 kalau nggak salah, mungkin 2018, antara 2018 sampai 2021, di mana itu diresmikan, dan ada juga jalan Palestine kan, Palestine Walk di Bandung. Nah, yang ingin dilakukan, yang diharapkan kita capai dengan adanya pameran di Monumen Solidaritas Asia Afrika sendiri itu untuk menentang bentuk di mana si Monumen Solidaritas itu hanya ditetapkan sebagai monumen saja, di mana kita esensi sejarahnya dan semangat sejarahnya tentang anti imperialisme atau anti kolonialisme itu sendiri hilang. Jadi salah satu permasalahan yang menurut saya kuat dalam praktik-praktik kolonial atau praktik-praktik imperial itu adalah menghistorisasikan atau mensejarahkan atau memumifikasikan suatu tempat, suatu subjek menjadi objek mati. Dan kita lihat di situ tuh koneksinya di sini tuh dari situsnya sendiri, Monumen Solidaritas Asia Afrika, dan juga subjek-subjek Palestina yang sedang mengalami permasalahan penjajahan sendiri. Dan kedua itu memiliki suatu kejadian yang sama, di mana mereka berdua itu dimumifikasikan, hanya di mana Monumen Solidaritas Asia Afrika itu hanya sebagai monumen, disejarahkan dan ditetapkan hanya dengan materialitasnya hilang dan terlepas dari esensi sejarahnya, dan subjek Palestina juga hanya menjadi sekedar objek di galeri-galeri. Jadi just to translate a little bit, I've discussed this a little bit with Raya as well before we began the exhibition, when we went to the talk on why we believe this exhibition is good and why we came to be with the idea of This is not a museum, was because Bandung has had, obviously, as we mentioned, a long history of anti-colonial rhetoric and anti-colonial spirit. And in that spirit itself, it was actually, in a spatial and temporal sense, Bandung was known for its big anti-colonial spirit, and that's why we call it the Bandung spirit, because there was the Asian African Conference in 1955 that denounced all forms of colonialism, that tried to bring and initiate the spirit of global South solidarity. And one of the things that was said in their priorities and in their promises was to also support the liberation of Palestine. So why we chose the site of the Solidarity Monument in Asia Africa was because that site was officiated by the ambassador of Palestine in Indonesia, as well as the, I think, foreign minister, if I'm not mistaken. And it was to sort of officiate and sort of create this monument to symbolize that this solidarity and this anti-colonial spirit is still maintained. But I think the reason why we picked This is not a museum was because we want to actually sort of remind people of this monument that exists in Bandung, and remind people that this isn't just a particular object stuck in its monumental gesture, stuck in its form of, okay, this is a symbolic gesture towards solidarity, but we are not doing anything more for that sort of solidarity. And this idea of mummification, or this idea of objectifying a monument solely in a monument without its historical spirit, is what I think sort of relates to the fact that Palestinians continue to be dehumanized in especially mass media. But I don't want to get too much into that, because I'll leave Raya to discuss also why her work, Alamin Archive, works around these dehumanization of Palestinians, especially Palestinian men, in Western media. So I think the reason why this is not a museum as well is to actually look into the politics of museum that continues to objectify oppressed subjects. So I think that's just for a little bit of introduction for the curation and why it comes to be in that sense. So I'll invite Raya to the stage now. So Raya, so I've talked with Raya before and why I chose to include Alamin Archive, and I've actually discussed this with her that the archive was a work that I've liked from the past year, and it's something I truly admire. So, Ryan, I guess you can start with how the Alamin Archive came to be, and what kind of purpose it entails, what kind of message you want to give with the archive.
First of all, thank you all for the effort. I'm proudly taking part at the Budang Photography Month this year. So I'm grateful for all the effort, as I'm always grateful to any national other than Palestinians raising our voice and giving us this opportunity to tell some part of our story. So first of all, thank you so much. I'm honored and I'm proud to be part of it this year. So as we talked and as we've mentioned also in the media and the Instagram posts about Al-Amin Archive and Palestinians, me and other two Palestinian fellow artists taking part in this exhibition, I think it always feels that Palestinians do make it to the headlines only if they're like dying or resisting. So there is a gap in the Palestinian story and in the Palestinian representation. Since the Nakba and the 48 up until today, it does always seem that the Palestinians have only one aspect of the story to tell. Even when we're talking about obviously Indonesia, Africa, other pro-Palestinian, obviously pro-Palestinian countries and people that do represent Palestinians and raise their voice, we only see one image of the Palestinian people. They're either resisting, fighting, they're either and if we're talking about Palestinian men specifically, they're either throwing stones, fighting for their lives, trying to protect their family. And we obviously have other stories to tell as Palestinians. So when I found the materials of the archive, I didn't think about this part or this aspect of the archive. I only thought that this is something historical that needs to be preserved and presented to the world. I didn't think of these specific aspects, but the more I digged into the archive, the more of this specific portrait of Palestinian men that was duplicating, and I was seeing it again and again in different weddings and in different ceremonies of the Palestinian weddings. So then again, if we look at the Palestinian men portrait in general, and again, I'm not only talking about Western media. I'm not only talking about Western media that is trying to show Palestinian men as uncivilized men who do only care about themselves and about their part of the political scene. I'm also talking about then again people who support Palestine and countries that support Palestine. We do only see one kind of portrait and the representation of the Palestinian men. And what I saw in my archive is something completely different. It's men who are exposing their feelings and not trying to hide any of their feelings, are extremists, but not in the way that the Western media shows them. They show extreme joy and they show extreme celebrating of life and love. So it was a total counter to the narrative that we see around Palestinian men, usually either holding stones or holding guns, fighting for their freedom. And in Al-Amin Archive, we see a total different aspect of Palestinian men that again, they do exist at the same time, in the same man, in the same story of life, but not, it's not either this or that. It's the same man that still has another story to tell. And of course, I think part of you would recognize also that even now, the ongoing genocide in Gaza, we do only see stories and numbers of women getting killed, elderly getting killed, children getting killed. Even in the media now, with the ongoing genocide, we don't see enough representation of Palestinian men suffering, who are brothers, fathers, husbands. They're also part of the Palestinian narrative, and we still don't see enough representation, as if there is like a gap of anything that has anything to do with the Palestinian man and his identity. So this is how I see the importance of participating in this exhibition specifically, and showing a counter representation to the colonizers' portrait of Palestinian men, as you could see in the exhibition, to whoever was there and saw the pictures of Palestinian men dancing and celebrating love and life.
Thank you, Raya. So before I continue the discussion, I'm just going to translate a little bit. Jadi Raya membahas tentang awal mula dia menemukan Al-Amin Archive dan sebelum dia menemukan Al-Amin Archive sendiri. Jadi bentuk kontemplasinya terhadap representasi Palestina itu selalu monolitik di media yang general, di media yang kita mungkin anggap universal. Representasi itu selalu monolitik, selalu hanya satu representasi general. Jadi representasinya itu ya hanya dua. Jadi cuma sebuah dikotomi antara mereka selalu melawan penjajahan, mereka selalu melawan, selalu berkelahi, selalu melakukan segala bentuk resistansi yang fisikal, yang armed struggle, atau mereka itu selalu dibunuh, mereka itu selalu mati. Jadi antara kita mungkin ada apa ya? Mungkin ada respon empati, ada respon kesedihan terhadap mereka yang sudah mati, atau respon mungkin yang bersemangat, atau mungkin dari media barat itu menolak perlawanan Palestina sendiri. Jadi awalnya itu mulai emang dari sirkulasi representasi Palestina sendiri yang selalu monolitik. Dan awal mulanya arsip Al-Amin atau Al-Amin Archive itu karena Al-Amin Archive itu berdiri sebagai arsip tentang potret-potret pernikahan Palestina dari mulai masa 60 sampai 90. Dan di potret-potret ini itu Raya sendiri menemukan bahwa representasi lelaki-lelaki Palestina di sini itu tidak monolitik, dan representasi Palestina itu tidak hanya cuma sekedar mereka terus berlawan dalam berkelahi terhadap penjajahan, atau mereka terus mati, atau mereka terus dibunuh. Jadi dalam representasi dalam arsip ini itu menunjukkan potret-potret pernikahan, potret-potret lelaki Palestina yang berbeda, yang sangat berbeda. Jadi di sini ada selebrasi bahagia, selebrasi cinta, selebrasi kehidupan, dan ini tuh semua bagi Raya merupakan bentuk penting, merupakan repositori penting akan representasi lelaki Palestina, representasi kehidupan Palestina di luar narasi-narasi yang dominan. Dan permasalahan ini juga kita bisa kaitkan dengan genosida yang saat ini sedang terjadi, karena di genosida yang saat ini terjadi, bahkan mungkin kalau kita lihat dari awal yang mereka mengecam 7 Oktober sebagai suatu hal yang buruk lah, di mana ini mereka melawan penjajahan itu dianggap uncivilized, dianggap barbar, dianggap primitif, dan sampai sekarang yang sudah puluhan ribuan warga Palestina meninggal itu, tetap saja media itu masih memprioritaskan narasinya itu untuk tidak menganggap lelaki Palestina, karena ada mungkin bentuk-bentuk dehumanisasi, bentuk-bentuk praktik kolonial yang menganggap lelaki Palestina dan biasanya lelaki Arab itu sebagai laki-laki yang emang cuma bisa melawan, yang tidak punya kemanusiaannya sendiri. Dan dengan Al-Amin Archive ini sendiri, ini sebuah counter naratif. Makanya kita menggunakan counter naratif karena narasi dominan, narasi general dari potret Palestina itu hanya biasanya dikotomi antara melawan atau mati. Dan dengan potret ini tuh ada counter narrative yang mencoba menunjukkan bahwa tidak ada dikotomi dalam kehidupan orang dan kehidupan subjek terjajah dalam kehidupan Palestina. So I was just translating what you've said and also about the fact that, as you've mentioned, the Al-Amin Archive works as a counter narrative towards this monolithic portrait of Palestinian men, and I think that was part of the main reason why I also chose this exhibition, because I don't want us to represent only a very dichotomist or a very generalized sense of resistance, and I think that's why I also included Maya and Hamad's skateboard resistance and also Rahav's Gaza Sea, to show life of Palestine outside this very canonical resistance. And I think it has always been an issue with this media, this very governmentality of media that also always dehumanizes Palestinian men, dehumanizes men of the oppressed subject of even in nature. They've always seen resistance as something that obviously is bad and obviously is a threat to the colonial authority. And I think that's always been the main reason why I've enjoyed this archive, or I've always admired this archive, is because these are portraits and representations that do coexist, and it's not this or either that. It's not either just an armed struggle resistance, which is very much needed against this towards the liberation of Palestine, but it also shows these different forms of humanity in Palestinian life that attempts to humanize Palestinian as people as well. So I think that's part of the reason why Al-Amin Archive to us is also very important. I guess I do want to sort of continue about this idea of this monolithic idea of Palestinians that has caused so much damage, that has also sort of manufactured the consent for people, because I think like what you've mentioned, Raya, the media that even I think from the 7th of October that have already condemned resistance itself, and now there's some sort of shift towards how media is, but it's still also stuck in that idea that that only highlights and centralizes Palestinian women and children, but Palestinian men is still put aside because of whatever reason, which I believe is a racialized, gendered, and orientalist violence towards Palestinian men. So, is there anything you want to add to that further?
Yeah, I think that this emphasizes the idea that men in general, and I think we do have this in common, Indonesian and Palestinian people. We share this with other indigenous groups also, that men do not express their feelings. They're stronger. They can handle traumas and tragic incidents better than women. And therefore, we don't need to talk about their feelings or to represent them whenever we're talking about. I'm again going back, of course, to Gaza as an example, but there you go. You have like a very radical example of an ongoing genocide now. So we see it more and more in the media. The less representation of men we're getting, the more we highlight this idea of men capable of dealing with their feelings and dealing with loss and dealing with such a tragic traumas, and that is not true, of course. So I think that we need to have more representation also in our narratives as artists, and also in the media. We need to get more representation of the stories that men has to tell, Palestinian men specifically. And having archive as a counter conversation or a portrait to that, it is something that is very small, and we need to put, I think, more effort as artists and the media needs to put more effort of telling the stories of the Palestinian men as they are, of course, dealing with the same traumas and going through loss and having different stories to tell. And yeah, I think that once again, when we see also pro-Palestinian media representing this very beautiful, of course, charming portraits of the fighters of freedom of the Palestinian men, I know and I totally understand why it's so fascinating to have the Palestinian men portrayed with the guns and with the kafiyas and as liberty and freedom fighters. And then again, I'm saying it's as you also mentioned when you translate it, these two identities, they coexist in the same man. And then again, I would love to see more effort representing Palestinian men and their part of the story in the Palestinian history and the Palestinian art.
Okay, thank you. So I'll translate this a little bit buat for everyone. So kembali lagi tadi kita ketika membahas potret yang direpresentasikan di media general, dan ini pun Raya bahas bukan cuma media mungkin yang biasnya atau otoritasnya ke media barat yang mungkin ada terkaitannya dengan Zionis, terkaitan dengan Israel, terkaitan dengan narasi-narasi penjajah dan narasi-narasi kolonialitas itu sendiri, tapi juga narasi-narasi yang dipegang mungkin dari kelompok-kelompok pro-Palestina itu sendiri yang Raya bilang tidak bisa juga terjebak dalam dikotomi mereka sebagai melawan atau mereka hanya mati saja. Jadi yang ingin Raya bawakan dari arsip Parlemen ini dengan adanya potret-potret lelaki-lelaki Palestina dalam perayaan pernikahan yang begitu merayakan selebrasi kehidupan, selebrasi cinta itu, bahwa para laki-laki ini juga mereka mengekspresikan perasaannya sendiri, mereka membicarakan tentang perasaannya sendiri. Dan ketika kita mengkaitkan ini dengan Gaza, dengan apa yang terjadi di Gaza, Raya merasa sangat minim representasi di mana mereka, bagaimana mereka bernegosiasi dengan rasa kehilangan, bernegosiasi dengan rasa kesedihan, rasa kasih dengan saudaranya, keluarganya, itu tuh masih Raya rasa sangat minim. Jadi menurutnya itu dengan elemen archive dan dengan posisi kita sebagai seniman, sebagai artis, sebagai kurator, sebagai pekerja kreatif itu perlu ada representasi lebih dari cerita mereka, dari cerita para laki Palestina yang keluar dari representasi yang rasis ini, representasi yang orientalis ini, yang terus mendehumanisasikan pria-pria Palestina sendiri. Dan kembali lagi ke si posisi kita sebagai mungkin kelompok-kelompok yang pro-Palestina itu sendiri, kita juga harus berhati-hati dalam gimana kita menarasikan lelaki-laki Palestina sendiri, karena kadang kita pun masih juga terjebak dalam dikotomi itu sendiri. Dan ini salah satu tugas juga kita sebagai orang yang kita itu bukan aktor utama dalam perlawanan ini, kita bukan aktor utama dalam gerakan kemerdekaan Palestina sendiri. Jadi pentingnya itu kita mendengarkan dan tahu posisi di mana kita mungkin masih ada juga tendensi untuk melanggengkan praktik-praktik kolonial ini sendiri, praktik-praktik yang hanya mendefinisikan lelaki Palestina itu dalam dikotomi ini, yang dimana mereka hanya sebagai freedom fighter, mereka hanya sebagai kelompok-kelompok yang melawan terhadap kemerdekaan dengan alat senjatanya lah, dengan kufiyah-kufiyahnya lah, tapi juga dimana di tengah mereka juga melawan saat ini, mereka juga lelaki-laki yang punya keluarga, mereka yang punya rasa cinta, rasa sayang, rasa sedih, rasa marah, itu semua hal-hal yang perlu kita ingat ketika kita ingin menghumanisasikan Palestina itu sendiri. So I've just translated a little bit of what you said and reiterated the fact that I think this is also the counter narrative, the attempt to humanize again Palestinians and humanize people who have long been dehumanized, who have long been represented in this one dichotomous form, because I think that is the tendency that even I'm speaking, I guess, in my position as a pro-Palestinian actor, pro-Palestinian subject, that I think there's this tendency that we forget we are not the people who are sort of in the front in the front rear of this liberation movement, that we are here to show our solidarity. And I think with what you said, I think it is important that for us as people who are supporting it in a form of solidarity, supporting this movement, supporting the liberation of Palestine, the humanization of Palestine, it is important to look into these narratives that you've talked about, to look into how maybe even us as pro-Palestinian supporters, we may have a tendency to actually do things that is actually not in favor of the Palestinian liberation, where we actually just represent them in that dichotomous form. So I think that is something that is always very good to remind us, and I'm always very grateful that you are always here to talk to this about us. And I think because we talk about the position of artists and curators and cultural workers, I think I want to talk a bit more into that, because I think for us, I think the idea of this exhibition as well, it is sort of working on countering the colonial narrative, the colonial project of the Israeli regime in the artistic and cultural sector, obviously. So I think from here, I do want to talk more about how you think, as an artist and a cultural worker, what more do you believe we can do in terms of the Palestinian liberation, in terms of supporting this creation of Palestinian narrative through the artistic and creative form?
Yeah, so I think, Hanfa, that any representation that is different to what we as Palestinians and pro-Palestinians are familiar with is something that do help giving a counter narrative to the colonialism and the occupation. And then I'm highlighting this again because it's really very important that we do remind ourselves of other missing parts of the narrative and of the story. So, for example, if we're talking about the vision, or if we're talking about the picture that we're seeing, so even for us Palestinians, whoever is not in Gaza right now, but once you sit in front of the TV and you watch the news and you see these people coming from under the rubble or all covered in dust, and they look tired and they look hungry, and they look as if they don't have nothing, as if they have lost everything. It does make you feel less empathy to these people, because you didn't see them in their real life. You didn't see the vision or the picture of these people going to school, getting married, celebrating life in a very small form. So you do feel less empathy, even without recognizing that, without being aware of that. And this is, I think, what the Israeli media is trying to do, and the Western media. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to portray Palestinians in general as poor people who didn't have any art to represent, who didn't produce anything. Not as families, not as unity, not as people who had their whole life waiting for them, and things and other things to achieve. So I think the simple representation of the image itself, just the image, without telling the story, without digging now into the narrative and the history of the occupation and in what happened in Palestine. But I think that in the media, only through showing this simple image of people all covered in blood and dust, and they made us feel as if Gaza was poor, as if Gaza was ugly, and this is untrue. Gaza was a very beautiful shore city that had plenty of scientists and artists and beautiful things to share with the world. But as you can see, even pro-Palestinian the platforms today, they're only interested to see what the artists have produced through the war since the 7th of October. And no one is almost representing other images of that area, of these people. So having these images stuck in our head, not only as Palestinians, only for the pro-Palestinian people in Indonesia and everywhere in the world, it does make us feel less empathy. Again, even if we're not aware of that, because image has such a power to affect everything in our minds and in our soul. And I think that we need to see more and more representation of what Palestinian artists in general and Palestinian artists in Gaza has to share and had to share prior to the 7th of October and before all of that happened, so that we don't get stuck only in the war narrative and in the death narrative of Palestinians, and to have these images as a counter all the time, not only when something very tragic happens, like the ongoing genocide in Gaza. We need to have this representation all the time, and I think it's relevant also not for the Palestinian people, for any indigenous people around the world. We do only have either the colonizers' narrative that try to dehumanize them, or the pro-indigenous people narrative that has only the image of the fighters and of the victory that they wish to see, and ignoring all other life aspects and art aspects of these people.
Thank you, Raya. So I'll just translate again what she has talked to us. Jadi Raya kembali membahas tentang sekarang itu tentang imaji dan mungkin apa bagian-bagian yang hilang dari imaji Palestina atau imaji subjek terjajah itu sendiri. Jadi Raya di sini membawa satu ide, itu ya ide reaksi kita dalam menciptakan empati gitu. Jadi mungkin tanpa kita sadari, walaupun mungkin kita bilang mungkin kita itu emang ya kita mendukung Palestina, kita di sini hadir sebagai aktor-aktor yang pro Palestina, tapi kadang kita itu tidak sadar kalau kita mungkin apa semacam menjadi terbiasa dengan imaji-imaji yang muncul terus, karena kita mungkin melihat dari 1 tahun lebih sekarang itu kita melihat terus image tadi yang seperti Raya bilang, mungkin ada salah satu warga ditarik dari rubble, dari bebatuan-bebatuan yang runtuh setelah dibom Israel, atau mungkin terus kita melihat kematian lah, terus kita melihat subjek-subjek yang telah dibunuh lah, dan menurut Raya ini tuh terus menciptakan satu kanon image di mana Palestina itu sedih, atau Palestina itu jelek, atau Palestina itu hanya emang terus dalam zona dalam zona penjajahan ini sendiri. Dan dengan adanya kanon imaji ini tuh kita tuh tidak bisa membayangkan Palestina, sebetulnya kita sendiri itu tidak bisa membayangkan Palestina sebagai manusia sendiri, sebagai aktor, sebagai subjek yang mereka juga punya ceritanya sendiri, mereka juga punya cerita sendiri, mereka menikah lah, cerita mereka pergi ke sekolah lah, mereka bermain dan punya rasa cinta, rasa sayang dengan teman dan keluarganya lah. Dan ini pun kita pun sendiri hanya melihat dalam image mereka di bawah penjajahan ini, kita jadi melupakan bahwa Palestina sendiri itu punya juga seni sendiri, punya juga budaya sendiri, punya juga pengetahuan yang mereka kultivasiin sendiri juga. Dan di sini Raya juga bawa sendiri kalau dalam mungkin gerakan pro Palestina, dan kita juga di sini karena kita harus menyadari posisi kita di sini sebagai aktor-aktor yang menyatakan dirinya sebagai subjek-subjek yang mendukung Palestina, kita tuh tidak menyadari bahwa sirkulasi image ini, sirkulasi gambar-gambar ini tuh akan terus ada reaksinya di pikiran dan di rasa kita sendiri, dan bagaimana kita itu jangan terperangkap dalam narasi kematian. Yang Raya bilang itu death narrative, which is narasi kematian. Dan menurut Raya juga bentuk counter naratif ini atau representasi lain ini itu bisa juga diaplikasikan di mana kita melihat imaji subjek terjajah lainnya, imaji subjek-subjek indigenous lainnya, di mana jadi sekarang permasalahan dalam pelanggengan praktik kolonial itu nggak cuma dari misalnya penjajah yang emang selalu mendehumanisasikan Palestina saja, mendefinisikan mereka sebagai mungkin subjek yang primitif, subjek yang tidak beradab, tapi dalam kita sendiri juga sebagai aktor yang mendukung para subjek Palestina itu kita juga jadi hanya ada sirkulasi empati, tapi ada sirkulasi akan maunya kita dalam kemerdekaan ini juga memanusiakan mereka kembali, menghumanisasikan mereka kembali. So I just translated again what you've mentioned about this lack of empathy, and I think I do agree with you. I can't say obviously to what extent, but I do agree maybe because of this circulation of image that without realizing it, maybe we feel less empathy, and also that we are stuck in what you've mentioned as this death narrative where we've only seen Palestinians in sort of a vacuum sense, to only this 1 year of genocide, which is also something that is continuously happening and something that is a very serious thing to have happened. This is a product of the colonial entity, the product of this imperialist colonial entity that has been imposed towards Palestinian people, but also it's the fact that because we are seeing it in a vacuum, we've only, as you've said, sort of internalized the death narrative, that we forget that Palestinians also have their own culture, have their own arts, have their own science, have their own knowledge, and these are things that I think is a great reminder. I think it's something that is important to remind us, and I think it is what I've mentioned, that I guess this is what coloniality is. So it's not just colonialism in the sense that the actors, all these colonizers, these Western entities that dehumanizes Palestinians, but also how we may be stuck. We as pro-Palestinian actors, we may be stuck in this singular narrative without actually listening to Palestinians themselves, because I think it's important for us to remember that we are just guests in this liberation movement, and it's up to Palestinians to also provide this liberation, this struggle to liberation, and also this narrative of people that exist, of people that have their own arts and history. So I would like Raya to, in case you want to add something else before I move to the Q&A session.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oke. Jadi saya sekarang di sini akan membuka sesi Q&A bagi yang ingin bertanya. Mungkin boleh pakai emot angkat tangan dulu. Nanti saya kumpulin satu-satu dan saya translate. Jadi apakah ada pertanyaan mungkin? Apa tidak ada mau yang bertanya? Nanti nggak apa-apa pakai bahasa Indonesia aja, nanti saya translate juga sendiri. Oh, oke. Silahkan untuk Shasky untuk bertanya. Dan kalau mau perkenalkan diri juga silahkan.
Hello, Hanfa. Hello, Raya.
Halo.
Nice to meet you. Just wanted to start this off with saying thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your artwork, and thank you for talking about, like, I do agree with you. I feel like ever since the beginning of the genocide, all we hear is about like, oh, like this amount of the number of men and children have been attacked or killed or massacred or whatever, but I think not only is the voices and the lives of like Palestinian men are as important, but also like I think it's also important to be spreading Palestinian joy, because I feel like that's also like part of the resistance and part of the movement. And I don't know, I feel really like emotional like talking about this. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here. But also, yeah, I guess I'm kind of interested in seeing more of your artwork. And I kind of want to know like where else you're exhibited. I came kind of late to this session, so I didn't quite get like where you were based in, or like where you're working in. But yeah, I guess I'd like to know if there are any of your other works being exhibited, or yeah, if there's any other Palestinian artists or photographers or whatever that you can recommend to us, that speaks to you, perhaps, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you again. And thank you for everyone that has participated today also, of course. Back to the start, I'm based in Palestine, and this archive project started when I found over 30,000 negatives and prints of my father's work. He was a wedding photographer during the 60s in the Galilee in Palestine. So like randomly I found the materials that my mom was about to burn and to throw away. And this is when I took the negatives and the prints. It's mostly negatives, over 30,000 negatives. And I started scanning and digitalizing the materials, publishing it on Instagram. And this is how I got to the Bandung Photography Month and other exhibitions. It was exhibited in Sarajevo 2 years ago, and I have another exhibition coming now in the US. Then again, starting from the start of the 7th of October, more people were interested in the project for the same reasons, obviously, because they were interested to represent Palestinian men in different ways. And yeah, I have plenty of Palestinian photographers that I would love to recommend to all of you. We can maybe publish it later. Because then again, we have lots of, and of course I have a lot of respect to them, but we have plenty of photojournalists, Palestinians that are very famous, obviously, today, especially from Gaza, because they're covering the genocide. But I think it's important to follow other photographers from Gaza who have documented life in Gaza before the genocide, and who are documenting Gaza in different ways, obviously, so that we don't again get stuck in the death narrative of the Palestinians. So I would share maybe the list of the photographers with Hansa later, and we can share it with you guys. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Looking
you. Shasky, do you have anything you want to add before I translate the whole conversation?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, like I agree with you in the sense that like a lot of the photographers or even the like photojournalists that we see these days have been about the war. Like we don't really see a lot of other images from like West Bank or like yeah, so I'd be really interested in seeing more of those instead of just about, like you said, like the death photos.
Thank you. Thank you to Shasky and thank you to Raya for responding. I'll just translate a little bit. Jadi Shasky juga mungkin kasih sedikit pendapat juga dari Artist Talk sepanjang ini, dan dia membahas juga tentang gimana kita juga harus merepresentasikan joy, merepresentasikan bentuk bahagia, bentuk itu sendiri dalam narasi Palestina itu sendiri, karena yang kita lihat seperti yang dibilang dari genosida yang sedang terjadi saat ini, yang sudah terjadi dalam 1 tahun lebih itu, kita juga takutnya itu kita akan terjebak dalam narasi kematian itu dan dalam narasi death narrative itu sendiri. Jadi mungkin tadi Shasky juga hanya bertanya juga apakah ada mungkin fotografer lain, karena dalam pameran ini sendiri juga kita ada 3 fotografer, ada 3 seniman, ada Raya Mana, ada Mayan Hama, dan ada juga Rehaf Albaniji. Dan mereka pun sendiri juga bekerja dalam narasi-narasi perlawanan atau narasi-narasi kehidupan Palestina yang berbeda. Seperti Rehaf itu menunjukkan tentang Gaza sebagai tempat laut dan keterdekatan, mungkin yang dia anggap dia sendiri punya keterdekatan dengan laut itu sendiri, dan fotonya itu sangat dekat dengan tepi Gaza itu dengan laut. Jadi dia menunjukkan affinity dia sendiri dengan laut. Dan juga dengan Mayan kita juga melihat di mana dia menunjukkan kehidupan dalam skena-skena skateboard di Palestina, menunjukkan bahwa mereka sendiri juga punya kegiatan mereka sendiri di luar kanon resistansi yang kita tahu. Jadi tadi Shaskia juga menanyakan apakah mungkin kita akan tahu lebih seniman Palestina lain yang juga mungkin untuk kita sendiri agar kita mempelajari juga narasi-narasi tentang Palestina, akan kehidupan Palestina, akan budaya Palestina, akan cinta, sayang, marah, sedihnya Palestina di luar kanon yang kita tahu itu sendiri. Jadi tadi Raya berbagi bahwa mungkin dia akan, karena dia juga punya banyak kenalan seniman dan fotografer Palestina sendiri, dia akan berbagi juga semacam list ke kita nanti untuk ada karya-karya dari seniman-seniman lainnya yang menunjukkan bentuk narasi-narasi lain, bentuk narasi-narasi yang tidak hanya dichotomous dari narasi yang sudah kita ketahui. Jadi itu yang dibahas dan ditanyakan oleh Syaski dan dibahas kembali oleh Raya. Mungkin apakah ada pertanyaan lain sebelum kita lanjut lagi terkait pamerannya lah, terkait dari pamerannya sendiri atau dari proyek arsipnya Raya sendiri. And also, just in case there are any other audiences also who is not speaking Indonesian, in case there is any other questions or any, maybe it doesn't have to be questions or maybe any other opinions maybe you want to give or any other expressions you want to give after this artist talk or what you think about the project and what maybe this, what it entails as well for us. Yes. Silahkan Kang Fatur, boleh pakai bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris. Tadi,
Oh
ya,
ya, saya
silakan.
pakai bahasa Indonesia aja ya.
Ya,
Jadi
nanti
tolong
saya
translate.
translate.
Baik, oke. Selamat malam dari Indonesia. Perkenalkan, nama aku Fatur dari Bandung. Mungkin ini nggak terjadi pertanyaan sih, lebih kayak mengapresiasi apa yang sudah dilakukan oleh rakyat. Jadi saya mengapresiasi Al-Amin Archive yang menggunakan sisi-sisi organiknya dari kehidupan laki-laki Palestina untuk menjadi counter naratif, dan mungkin satu kata yang apa ya, yang ada di kepala saya itu sebagai penyeimbang atau sebagai balancing begitu. Ini sebenarnya jadi reflektif pribadi karena saya sebenarnya nggak, mungkin teman-teman juga menemukan hal yang serupa. Kalau kita mungkin melihat media sosial beberapa bulan ini, khususnya seperti X begitu, sebenarnya ini berkaitan tentang dengan Raya atau Hanfa yang di awal bercerita bahwa aspek Palestine yang paling sering ditonjolkan itu kan pasti dari sisi perangnya, sisi freedom fighter-nya, kehancuran, kelemahan, dan semacamnya. Di satu sisi, foto-foto ini yang sering kita lihat pastinya di media sosial tuh mungkin memang punya intensi positif untuk membangkitkan empati bagi kita yang pro-Palestine maupun bagi yang tanda kutip netral dan golongan-golongan orang lainnya. Tapi di sisi lain saya menemukan bahwa foto-foto yang serupa ini tuh jadi bahan mocking, bahan ejekan, bahan hinaan bagi orang-orang yang pro genocide, pro colonizer dan semacamnya begitu. Yang mungkin kalau saya sadari bahwa kenapa ya bisa hal seperti itu bisa terjadi ya? Padahal tuh sewajarnya kalau kita melihat foto atau ya dokumentasi kehancuran pasti membangkitkan iba ya, seminimal mungkin. Tapi ternyata itu jadi apa ya, senjata mereka untuk menghina-hinakan orang Palestina khususnya. Mungkin yang saya tangkap tuh mungkin karena sisi lemah atau sisi hancur, sisi ketakutan itu yang saat ini yang paling banyak tersebar gitu di media sosial. Sehingga ya itu yang ya seperti yang disampaikan juga oleh Raya dan teman-teman. Dan ini sebenarnya reflektif pribadi. Kita yang warga Indonesia pasti mungkin juga tahu ya, ada kita itu juga welcome orang-orang yang juga korban genosida dari negara lain. Saya ambil contoh seperti Rohingya dari Myanmar. Itu saya masih ingat, mungkin teman-teman juga masih ingat ketika isunya bangkit atau booming, yang kita temui juga apa ya, orang-orang Rohingya ini juga dehumanize oleh orang Indonesia. saya juga nangkap dengan obrolan ini barangkali yang yang berkontribusi besar terhadap respon dehumanize atau respon negatif terhadap orang-orang Rohingya ini juga karena aspek foto-foto atau dokumentasi yang ada yang paling banyak masuk ke kepala kita, which is tentang kelemahan mereka, kehancuran mereka, atau mereka yang mungkin maaf misalnya kurang bersih atau dan semacamnya. Pun kalau kita searching di Google, saya belum banyak riset juga sih sebenarnya, tapi mungkin kalau kita random untuk searching tentang Rohingya atau warga Rohingya, pasti akan imaji-imaji yang muncul tuh pasti juga sisi lemah mereka, mungkin almost 100% begitu. Sehingga ya mungkin oke, bagi kita yang sudah punya empati pasti foto-foto serupa menimbulkan iba, tapi mungkin kalau di riset di Indonesia pasti sekian persen atau persentase pasti besar juga banyak yang mendehumanize mereka, menganggap mereka buruk dan semacamnya. Nah, kembali lagi ke yang sudah di Raya atau Al-Amin Archive ini, saya sangat mengapresiasi karena ya foto-foto atau dokumentasi sisi organik kehidupan ini tuh bisa sebagai penyeimbang. Jadi ya saya juga bagi saya pribadi, saya tidak menganggap bahwa foto-foto atau dokumentasi kehancuran atau korban-korban perang, korban genocide ini suatu hal yang buruk 100%. Bagi saya tentu tidak, mungkin teman-teman juga memikirkan hal yang serupa, tapi bila hal foto-foto atau dokumentasi ini yang paling banyak muncul dan kita mungkin 100% hanya membahas tentang itu, bisa jadi ini juga jadi senjata makan tuan atau jadi ya bukan jadi hal yang baik. Jadi kita juga harus seimbang membahas tentang keadaan yang terjadi saat ini dan juga membahas tentang kehidupan nyatanya orang-orang Palestina. Maksudnya ya seimbang ini ya tidak condong atau sangat-sangat bukan sangat, maksudnya terlalu sering membahas tentang kehancuran, tapi juga membahas tentang kehidupan nyata yang sudah dilakukan oleh teman-teman, yang sudah dilakukan oleh Al-Amin Archive ini. Ya, jadi saya belum ada pertanyaan, mungkin lebih ke apresiasi aja.
Thank you, Fatur. So Fatur didn't really give a question, but he was giving sort of his expression and reflection over this artist talk. So mainly he was talking about his main appreciation to Al-Amin Archive and the work that you have done, Raya, in sort of countering this image of Palestinian and only this dichotomous form of either, as we've mentioned, of either fighting and resisting or either dying or getting murdered. So Fatur thinks this, I think what he has learned is that Al-Amin Archive sort of gives us an organic image of an organic portrait of Palestinians that goes beyond this narrative, because he was mentioning from his own experience of how throughout this whole year of looking to these photojournalists who are working to represent what is going on the ground in Gaza, that these images for him and maybe for other people who are pro-Palestine, it evokes a sort of empathy from us. It evokes a sort of feeling of empathy towards people undergoing the genocide. But also he finds that what he has seen through social media is that sometimes these images are weaponized by also pro-Israeli and also Israeli and also people who are for this genocide, who are actually weaponizing these images of death, these images of violence as some sort of tool of mockery. And that is a dangerous slope that he believes is happening, and it still happens. And obviously it's something that needs to be countered. So he believes that the Al-Amin Archive itself exists as a balance, and like I think what you mentioned, exists as some sort of image that shows this coexistence of Palestinians that are resisting but also have this own life, have their own humanity, that shows their own art, that shows their own culture, that shows their own joy and life. And he was mentioning as well how I think in Indonesia I think nearly a year back ago, the Rohingya refugees came to Indonesia, and basically it was in Aceh, and then a lot of people actually in Indonesia were actually against the Rohingya refugees, and they were actually regurgitating or saying the same dehumanizing rhetoric that maybe colonizers have been using. And it is these sort of dehumanizing rhetoric actually comes from the circulation of image of Rohingyans as well as poor, as well as people who are living a poor life, living under very harsh conditions. So I think it circles back to what you've mentioned, Raya, how this sort of monolithic circulation of image where we only focus on this death narrative, focus on this image that only shows them as supposedly poor or supposedly ugly. It forgets how this is not the only visualization or representation of Palestinian life or of other indigenous life, that they also have their own culture and arts and life outside of this very dehumanizing narrative. So in case you want to add anything to what Fatwa has mentioned, Raya?
Yeah, so we've talked about Gaza and about the ongoing genocide as an example, but if we look back at the Palestinian history, the only representations we saw that were highlighted in the world and in the culture and in art, it was maybe the Nakba, when the Nakba occurred in 48, and then first Intifada and the second Intifada. So then again, if we look like 80 years back, the only representation that Palestinians got is only through like the peak events of war. So like the 48 Nakba, first Intifada and second Intifada. And this is like the only images we're getting from Palestine. Then again, it's very important to document what we're going through as people living under occupation. I'm not saying that this narrative should replace the documenting of the ongoing horrifics and war crimes, but I do think that we don't have enough representation of other aspects of our lives.
Oke, jadi saya akan menerjemahkan apa yang Raya bilang juga untuk para audiens juga dan juga untuk Peter. Jadi Raya ngomong juga kalau misalnya representasi dari sejarah sendiri tentang Palestina yang mungkin kita ketahui, yang bahkan kita sebagai aktor pro-Palestina ketahui, itu mungkin ada momen-momen sentralnya sendiri. Jadi kita tahu tentang Nakba yang terjadi pada 1948 dengan terjadinya apa bahasnya bukan penggusuran, tapi bahasanya membuang para warga Palestina sendiri dari rumahnya, itu terjadi pada Nakba tahun 1948. Dan kita juga tahu dari pertama, mungkin perlawanan sentralnya pertama itu dengan adanya Intifada pertama dan juga adanya Intifada kedua. Dan ini adalah momen-momen sejarah dan representasi yang penting. Kata Raya sendiri pun ini juga sejarah yang penting yang perlu diceritakan. Tapi ini sejarahnya itu kembali lagi kita tidak bisa melihat itu dalam suatu hal yang general atau suatu hal yang vakum, bahwa ini merepresentasikan keseluruhan kehidupan dan sejarah dan budayanya Palestina sendiri. Jadi maksud Raya dengan adanya Al-Amin Archive sendiri itu untuk menunjukkan bahwa kita itu bahasnya itu ya, ini bukan Palestina sendiri itu bukan subjek atau bukan penduduk atau bukan cerita yang monolitik. Jadi bukan cerita yang cuman terjadi beberapa kegiatan ini dan oke, sudah itu aja. Ini untuk menunjukkan bahwa ada representasi-representasi Palestina di luar kanon sejarah, di luar kanon historiografi Palestina sendiri, di luar kanon representasi Palestina yang kita ketahui sendiri, bahwa Palestina itu emang punya kehidupan sendiri, punya budaya sendiri. Dan ini bukan, Raya juga menstreskan kalau ini bukan sebagai pengganti dari narasi penting itu, narasi sentral dari Nakba, dari Intifada pertama, Intifada kedua. Itu juga narasi-narasi penting yang perlu kita ketahui juga, agar kita juga tidak terjebak dalam narasi-narasi yang dipegang oleh otoritas penjajahnya sendiri. Tapi yang perlu kita ingat itu, dalam narasi sejarah yang sentral itu ada narasi-narasi yang di balik lainnya. Mungkin kalau di bahasa sejarah itu ada major history and minor history. Jadi major history yang kita ketahui itu Nakba, yang kita ketahui itu Intifada pertama, Intifada kedua. Dan minor history, sejarah-sejarah yang penting yang terikat dengan subjek-subjek Palestina, sering terikat dengan bagaimana mereka mengekspresikan perasaannya sendiri, seperti Palestina dengan selebrasi kehidupan, selebrasi joy, selebrasi cinta, sayang, marah, sedih, itu semua penting karena itu semua menjadi sebuah bentuk narasi di mana kita menghumanisasi mereka. Tidak ada narasi-narasi yang monolitik itu sendiri. Jadi itu yang Raya maksud. And I will go through this. There is a question from Rouse. I think it's from Teh Grace, I think. So I think I'll just read it out loud. So Teh Grace mentioned that I was following a discussion a few months ago about Palestinian archives among the Palestine Solidarity Arts community concern as well. So the question is, I understand that there has been concern about the preservation of Palestinian archives. So are there efforts in place to safeguard these archives in terms of other than physical, such as through digital preservations or other forms, so that the future generations can continue to access and view them? So that is Peg Grace's question.
Yeah, I think that's a very good and important question, and the practice that we need to preserve and find a way to do so. Obviously, when you're when a community or when people are living continuously under and dealing with ongoing occupation, it is very important to put efforts on on art and archiving. Obviously. So we have the Palestinian Museum established only like a few years ago. We don't have like a proper digital archive of Palestine. I also don't know if you guys are familiar with the fact that the Zionists have already stolen lots of things that belong to the Palestinian people, archaeological parts, photos, prints. Even like copies of old newspapers, of Palestinian newspapers. They have them all locked in the Zionist archive, and no one obviously has access to them. And it's part of the cultural appropriation that Zionists have been doing for the past decades, where they try to convince the world that they are related to this land, and they do it by the cultural appropriation of stealing our food, the Palestinian dishes, and claiming it's an Israeli, stealing our customs, our kafia, the Palestinian embroidery, obviously, and lots of other aspects of the Palestinian culture. This is their only way to convince the world that they are like historically connected to this land, because you can't just come and claim that you own this land or you're related to it. You need to have a culture that is linked to this area, to this land. So obviously there is a big gap, and then again, when you're fighting for your life and you're fighting for your basic for your basic rights, obviously in life, of like safety, you don't have enough capacity to deal with art and preservation. And yeah, I can say that unfortunately today we don't see enough efforts of preserving and documenting the Palestinian archives. Whether it's like if I'm talking about organization or obviously the Palestinian authorities that almost do not exist and don't have any efforts whatsoever in the cultural aspect. So yeah, other than individuals like me and other artists who are trying to document and preserve some parts of Palestinian history, there are no like big efforts of organizations or authorities or like Palestinian authorities to preserve that.
Okay, thank you, Raya. So I'll just translate it a little bit for Teh Grace and also for everyone. Jadi tadi dari Teh Grace sendiri nanya tentang apa ya, inisiatif pengarsipan sendiri, inisiatif untuk preservasi arsip ini sendiri, karena kan Raya sendiri dia bekerja dalam arsip dan dia mempreservasikan dan menyimpan arsip ayahnya sendiri yang menunjukkan narasi atau menunjukkan image lain tentang kehidupan dan budaya Palestina itu sendiri. Jadi Tigris ini datang dari mungkin suatu ada concern tentang preservasi arsip-arsip Palestina itu sendiri dan bagaimana upaya-upaya yang dilakukan untuk melindungi arsip ini sendiri. Gimana mungkin salah satunya yang paling yang dimention itu preservasi digital atau digitalisasi arsip ini sendiri agar mungkin generasi selanjutnya dan generasi seterusnya untuk para subjek Palestina dan juga untuk kita sebagai yang melihat Al-Amin Archive ini untuk kita bisa mengakses dan melihatnya. Jadi di sini Raya ngomong tentang governmentalitas arsipnya sendiri kan. Jadi bahwa di Palestina itu sendiri kan rezim Zionis Israel itu mereka sendiri memegang kuasa atas arsipnya. Jadi Raya cerita banyak foto, banyak sejarah, banyak budaya yang terus diambil dan dicuri dari Israel itu sendiri dan mereka menyimpannya sendiri dalam repositori arsipnya sendiri. Jadi itu suatu hal yang perlu kita ingat juga karena dengan adanya Zionis ini mereka bentuk governmentalitas atau bentuk kuasanya itu nggak cuma dari mereka menjajah aja kan. Yang kita lihat itu sekarang iya betul. Kita melihat mereka melakukan genosida terhadap Palestina di Gaza. Tapi juga ini bentuk yang kita maksud dengan kolonialitas. Jadi tentang bentuk penjajahan atau kuasa lainnya. Dengan mereka menyimpan arsip-arsip dan mengambil arsip-arsip Palestina yang dimiliki Palestina sendiri untuk disimpan dan tidak ditunjukkan, mereka melakukan apropriasi budaya untuk semacam menulis atau merevisikan kembali sejarah seakan-akan sejarah Palestina, budaya Palestina itu milik Israel. Jadi tadi Raya bawa beberapa contoh misalnya makanan Palestina seperti hummus seperti apa itu malah diapropriasi dibilang kalau ini makanannya makanan Israel dan juga dari bajunya dan juga dari pakaiannya dan juga dari kufiyahnya dan juga dari adat Palestina itu semua diapropriasi seakan-akan itu budayanya Israel, seakan-akan Israel itu yang memiliki budaya-budaya ini. Jadi Raya juga ngomong kalau misalnya tentu dengan masalah preservasi ini, dengan masalah preservasi dan melindungi arsip itu ada gap juga dan ada permasalahan. Salah satunya tadi Raya bilang kalau ketika para subjek Palestina atau warga Palestina sedang berusaha keras setiap hari untuk melindungi kehidupannya, mereka tuh kadang tidak punya kapasitas untuk mempreservasikan atau mempunyai upaya untuk mempreservasikan arsip-arsipnya sendiri karena bagaimana mereka bisa memiliki waktu untuk mempreservasi ini secara digital ketika mereka sedang berupaya setiap hari untuk melindungi kehidupannya. Jadi di sini makanya pentingnya bagi Raya untuk adanya Al-Amin Archive dan ini juga arsip yang terbilang digital kan kita bisa lihat juga ada dari Instagram media sosial medianya di mana ada foto-foto sirkulasi dari arsip Al-Amin Archive-nya sendiri. Jadi bentuk-bentuk perlindungan arsip-arsip ini sendiri itu sangat penting karena adanya governmentalitas dari rezim Zionis Israel sendiri yang memegang arsip yang mencuri foto-foto dan budaya-budaya Palestina seakan-akan itu sejarahnya Israel. Jadi ada apropriasi sejarah yang terjadi dan ini upaya penting di mana kita adanya bentuk preservasi ini sendiri. Jadi ada berbagai masalah tadi yang dia bilang dengan adanya gap antara waktu dan upaya untuk melakukan preservasi itu sendiri, tapi ini tetap merupakan hal yang penting. Oke. Jadi, so I think before we close, I would like to ask if there is any other question first, and just maybe final question, atau mungkin bagi yang ini apakah ada pertanyaan terakhir yang ingin ditanya? Ya, oke. Silahkan Shaski.
Hello again. I'm actually asking this question for my partner. They kind of wanted to know because we were looking through your account and there was like a lot of very beautiful like images with like men and yeah, like the profile is like two men getting married and we thought that was really cute. And I don't know, as queer people as well, we kind of wanted to know like what the queer scene in Palestine is and how that's like being like talked about and I guess proliferating within yeah, like just the scene and how was that experience getting to know these people, or how it was yeah, I guess that's kind of the question, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, and it's linked directly to the subject of the archives and being part of the Bandung Photography Month. So obviously, we're all aware of the pinkwashing that's being used by Israel to justify its crimes, which is insane. Like to take such a very sensitive subject and use it as a justifying to justify, of course, the horrific war crimes that they're doing, and trying to portray Israel as like the safe oasis for queer people in the Middle East, and having queer Palestinians and queer people attacked by pro-Israelis, saying what would happen to you if you were living in Gaza or if you were living in the West Bank, and obviously the answer is that they would probably die because of the Israeli bombardment, not by the Palestinians themselves. So then again, this identity it does exist, and it coexists with the other narratives that the Palestinians are living and representing. So we have queer fighters and we have queer artists that are actively working in Palestine. And of course, I'm aware of that queer sense in Al Amin archive that flows to the surface, especially in the groom's shower ceremony. So it's an ongoing ceremony that Palestinians still have, and they still do up until today at their wedding. So the groom showers with his friends. So they help him to get shower and then to get dressed, and of course have his hair done. It still happens until today. It's one of the oldest ceremonies that Palestinians do in their wedding, and it's one of the most important ceremonies. And I am, of course, aware of the queer sense of that naked man getting shower with other naked men around him, who then again are not afraid to express their love and affection to each other. And it's something that I think we didn't discuss that. It's something that's going to take a lot of time to discuss. But then again, any indigenous people around the world, we have seen it throughout the history. The more you feel that you are exposed, and the more you feel that your identity is threatened and about to be erased, the more radical you get, and the more you try to show that you are different. So we have the Israelis, for example, as the Western or the occupiers and the colonizers that do represent the Western world. And once we have them threatening our identity, we get more and more radical. So we try to prove that we're not like them. We don't express our feelings. We don't hold hands. And it's something that we witnessed in the Palestinian weddings and in the archive. You see men holding hands. You see men dancing dabke. Dabke, it's the traditional Palestinian dance where men hold hands and they stand physically very close to each other. And the more they hit the ground with their feet, it means, and it symbolizes how they are rooted to their roots and to their origins. So then again, the more you have the colonizers threatening this identities, the more you see radical responses from the indigenous people. So, for example, you see women in the Palestinian, in my archive, you see women throughout the 60s or 70s wearing very exposing and revealing clothes. We see that also in the Iranian historical photos, and we see that all around the Middle East. So what happened is within the changes and within the colonizers threatening this identity, the more radical these people get, and the more they try to prove that they are different. And so they start dressing in different ways, and they start you see them like even expressing their feelings and their physique in different ways. So of course it exists, and queer people do exist in Palestine, and they're all over Gaza, West Bank, and in the 48 areas. And it's frustrating to see how Israel is using this again as a weapon, and using the pink washing to justify its crimes.
Okay, thank you, Raya. So, I'll translate this a little bit first. Jadi aku mau menerjemahkan pertanyaan dari Shasky, dari partnernya Shasky sendiri. Jadi dia bertanya juga tentang identitas queer yang ada di Palestina, karena dia sendiri dan partnernya tadi baru saja melihat para audiens di sini juga nanti bisa lihat Alamin Archive di Instagramnya dan melihat juga representasi Palestina. Jadi selain dari 3 foto yang ada di pameran sendiri itu, banyak foto di mana laki-laki Palestina itu ditunjukkan mereka itu tidak segan dengan menunjukkan afeksinya, dengan menunjukkan bentuk-bentuk rasa kasih sayang lah, rasa kasih sayang dalam bentuk fisik, dalam bentuk emosional dengan teman-temannya sendiri. Jadi dia menunjukkan bahwa dalam fotonya itu misalnya ada seorang lelaki Palestina yang akan menikah, dan dia itu ada suatu tradisi di Palestina yang dijelaskan Raya, di mana dia itu akan untuk persiapan sebelum nikahnya dia akan dimandikan dengan teman-teman lelakinya sendiri, dan mereka akan mempersiapkannya dari mulai mandi itu, menyiapkan rambutnya, mendandannya untuk sebelum dia menikah itu sendiri. Dan itu menunjukkan bahwa adanya afeksi, adanya rasa kasih sayang yang dekat dengan para lelaki-lelaki Palestina itu sendiri. Jadi tadi juga Ray cerita kalau misalnya dalam pernikahan Palestina itu ada juga tarian dabke, itu tarian tradisional Palestina, di mana mereka itu akan selalu dekat, para laki itu menari dekat satu sama lain, dan mereka itu akan semacam menentak terus tanahnya, seakan-akan mereka itu memang terakar dengan tanahnya, mereka sebegitu dekat dengan tanahnya, itu sebagai simbol dari keterdekatan mereka dengan tanah air mereka itu sendiri. Dan tadi Raya ngomong dengan korelasi yang ditanyakan Shasky dan partnernya tentang identitas queer itu, ini salah satu mekanisme dari Israelnya sendiri itu ya namanya pinkwashing kan. Jadi pinkwashing seolah-olah kalau rezim Israel itu lokasi yang dijajah Israel sebagai itu mereka representasikan atau mereka mungkin promosikan ke dunia barat itu sebagai oasis untuk para subjek queer, para identitas queer. Kalau ini salah satunya mungkin salah satu tempat di Timur Tengah yang menerima subjek-subjek queer, dan ini bentuk pinkwashing karena ini bentuk di mana Israel itu akan selalu digambarkan sebagai dunia di Timur Tengah yang sebetulnya lebih ke barat, dan ini tuh korelasinya tuh dari ide kebaratannya itu sendiri, bahwa bagaikan gimana dunia barat atau dunia western ini tuh mungkin dianggap lebih beradab daripada dunia Timur Tengah. Makanya mereka melakukan mekanisme pinkwashing itu sendiri, seakan-akan oke, Israel itu salah satunya rezim yang menerima identitas queer di Timur Tengah, dan ini tuh yang tidak dibilang, dan sebetulnya dibilang kalau kita lihat dari narasi pinkwashing, tapi yang tersirat dari narasi kalau mereka bilang Israel itu sebagai oasis queer di Timur Tengah, itu yang tersirat itu tidak seperti uh, tidak seperti apa? Tidak seperti tempat-tempat lain di Timur Tengah. Jadi dia seakan membuat dikotomi kalau Israel sebagai negara dunia Barat, dia itu yang menerima identitas queer, seakan-akan mereka lebih beradab daripada yang lain. Dan ini yang Raya sebutkan sebagai bentuk pinkwashing, karena ini semacam menutupi kuasa kolonial itu sendiri atas dasar misi peradaban dari Israel itu sendiri, yang menganggap mereka akan lebih beradab selayaknya mereka dunia Barat ketimbang dengan Timur Tengah, ketimbang dengan Palestina yang dianggap tidak beradab. Jadi dari situ sendiri itu ini satu contohnya kan yang kita lihat pinkwashing. Kita bisa lihat ini di mana-mana lain, di mana emang salah satu mekanisme di mana untuk semacam melanggengkan kejahatan genocida itu karena mereka menganggap Israel itu yang beradab ketimbang dengan Palestina. Dan dia sebutkan sendiri kalau identitas queer di Palestina, di Gaza, di West Bank itu mereka selalu hadir, mereka selalu ada. Tapi dengan adanya mekanisme pinkwashing ini, mereka seakan-akan hilang, dan makanya ini penting, dan makanya dari Alamin Archive-nya sendiri ada semacam retorika queerness itu sendiri itu penting, dan itu penting untuk ditunjukkan kalau kembali lagi lelaki Palestina itu punya afeksi, punya kasih sayang yang tidak digambarkan selayaknya dalam narasi Israel atau narasi kolonial sebagai yang tidak beradab atau manusia. Oh, okay. So before we close, I think there's just one more question, and then we'll just get to the question, and then I'll have a few things maybe Raya you want to include, but also this question from Wahyu is about the connectivity. So he is asking whether there is a connectivity between artists or photographers from Palestine to sort of work together through this narrative of resistance against the Zionist regime, or is there from the connectivity of artists and Palestinian artists photographers, is there this sort of working together towards a singular narrative or not? That is what Wahi wants to ask essentially.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a similar answer to what I answered previously to the archiving aspect and archiving effort. So then again, unfortunately, we don't have enough organizations, even like independent organizations of Palestinian artists. So yeah, I don't think we do have something as Palestinian artists or young Palestinian artists today that works as a unity to represent Palestine. So it's like only the solo efforts of each artist, and only when we get to exhibit together, like Ma'an, Rihaf, and me in the current exhibition. Yeah.
Oke, jadi Raya menjelaskan kalau sebetulnya mungkin semacam apa ya, ada satu gabungan kelompok yang bekerja sama dengan narasi ini di waktu yang sama mungkin tidak selalu terjadi kecuali ketika sedang terjadinya pameran atau eksibisi seperti yang Raya jelaskan sekarang yang terjadi di pameran yang di Bandung Fotografi Month sendiri. Dia bilang bekerja dengan Mayan dan bekerja juga dengan Rehaf, jadi munculnya narasi sama yang ingin mereka sampaikan, dan di sini narasi yang ingin mereka sampaikan itu yang di luar kanon resistansi, dengan jelas dari elemen archive, dengan kehidupan dan budaya Palestina khususnya dengan subjek lelaki Palestina, dan mungkin dari Mayan juga tentang resistansi atau skena-skena Palestina di luar resistansi yang kita ketahui, dan juga dari Rehaf Batniji sendiri juga tentang kehidupan Palestina dan keterdekatan dia sendiri dengan laut. Jadi mungkin untuk membangun satu unity atau satu apa ya, sirkulasi yang sama itu tidak biasanya artis-artis itu seperti Ray bilang, mereka biasanya bekerja sendiri-sendiri dulu, mereka punya proyek-proyek sendiri, mereka punya purpose narasi yang ingin mereka sampaikan, tapi mereka itu akan bekerja dengan narasi yang ingin mereka sampaikan sendiri di saat ada terjadinya pameran atau di saat ada terjadinya eksibisi. Jadi itu yang ingin mereka sampaikan. Jadi untuk sekarang sepertinya akan ditutup. So I think for the questions, I think I will end it here. I think that was a very good artist talk, and I'm always happy to listen from you, Raya. So I think I personally would just like to reflect and conclude what we've discussed, and then I'll leave it to you to give your final thoughts and everything. So I think we talked about the Alamein archive and how we situated in this canon image or canon representation of Palestine that tends to be very dichotomous or tends to be very monolithic. So, and the Alamein archive here, why we bring also the title of a counter narrative, because it is what Raya has discussed about the Alamein archive working as a counter narrative towards this very monolithic idea of Palestine, of subjects of Palestine as simply resisting or simply dying. And then we also need to also move away from this death narrative, to move away from this tendency that not only happens with the colonizer representing Palestine through this dehumanization practice, but also from people who are who are claiming that they are pro-Palestine to also move from also this simply singular idea of Palestine as only resisting, as only dying, that we need to also understand these complexity of narratives that Palestine have their own arts, have their own culture, and move from central ideas that only shed them in this light. So I think that was what we talked about, and also we mentioned a little bit about queerness and how this, I guess the regime, the Israeli regime works towards pinkwashing, and I think we use pinkwashing here as an example for how they legitimize Israel as the Western counterpart as opposed to Palestine. But I think that is applied to also all the sense, and that is applied to how Palestinian men continue to be dehumanized because it doesn't fit into their narrative. So I think the Alamein archive here works as something that can represent different images, different circulations of Palestinian culture, Palestinian life through different forms. So Raya, I'll leave it to you to conclude anything you want to add to this.
Once again, I want to thank your effort. So thank you to Bandung and the Bandung Photography Month, obviously, and everyone who made this work. And thank you, Indonesia, for once again proving that the unity with Palestine, it's important. It's always heartwarming to see how other people and other nations are aware of what the Palestinians are going through. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think that it helps each and every one of us every time we as Palestinians see other people and other nations standing with us, recognizing our story and our history and our culture. It lifts our spirit, and it's obviously super important because the colonizer they would come to another nation. It's not only the Palestinians. It's now Palestine. It was Iraq. It was India. It was Japan. It was Korea. It was Malaysia. There is always another nation to occupy and to cultural appropriate. So we're all part of this. And thank you again. Thank you, Indonesia from Palestine. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you in Indonesia and in Bandung again, physically, not virtually, hopefully, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. Thank you, Raya. I'll just translate a little bit
Thank
and
you.
then we'll close this artist talk. Jadi mungkin sebagai kesimpulan dari artist talk ini kita sudah bahas tentang Alamein Archive dan sudah banyak yang kita bahas juga. Kita mungkin salah satu ide sentral dari pembahasan itu dari adanya imaji atau representasi visual kanon yang mungkin menjadi representasi yang dominan yang hadir ketika kita bercerita atau kita membahas tentang Palestina, dan ini merupakan representasi yang monolitik, dan itu pun representasi yang harus kita terus pertanyakan kenapa ada representasi monolitik ini sendiri. Dan representasi ini yang sudah Raya bilang, ketika kita hanya melihat Palestina dalam perlawanan dengan alat senjatanya atau ketika mereka mati saja. Dan ini bukan berarti representasi ini salah, bukan berarti representasinya tidak benar, tapi representasi itu hanya menciptakan seolah-olah narasi Palestina atau visualisasi Palestina itu dalam satu vakum sendiri, dalam vakum dikotom ini sendiri, jadi antara ini atau antara itu. Dan makanya Alamein Archive hadir di sini sebagai yang kita sebut itu counter narrative, sebagai bentuk narasi yang mengkontestasi atau mengkonfrontasi bentuk monolitik ini sendiri. Jadi menunjukkan bahwa representasi Palestina itu tidak bisa cuma direpresentasikan dalam satu hal saja, tidak bisa direpresentasikan dalam yang tadi Raya sebut sebagai death narrative atau narasi kematian itu sendiri. Jadi adanya bentuk-bentuk representasi lain, mungkin ini bentuk-bentuk dari representasi minor, karena ini salah satu seniman yang kerja itu sendiri. Jadi representasi minor yang menunjukkan juga kehidupan Palestina, dan khususnya di sini lelaki Palestina yang tidak sebagaimana digambarkan dalam media-media Barat atau dalam media-media bahkan yang pro Palestina itu sendiri. Jadi tadi Raya juga menyebutkan kalau dia banyak berterima kasih juga untuk dapat menunjukkan karyanya juga di Bandung sendiri, dan dia juga seolah mengingatkan kembali kepada kita bahwa bentuk kolonialitas sendiri itu juga tidak hanya terjadi di antara rezim Israel terhadap Palestina, karena itu salah satunya. Tapi yang mungkin kita pelajari itu ya ini bentuk penjajahan itu sendiri nggak cuman dengan mereka mengambil tanahnya Palestina, mereka menyerang dan merusak rumahnya, membom rumahnya dan membombardir dan membunuh berbagai banyak nyawa. Tapi mereka juga melakukan penjajahan-penjajahan di sektor lain, dan salah satunya itu di sektor budaya yang kita bilang. Jadi tadi budayanya diambil, diapropriasi, arsipnya di arsip-arsip Palestina sendiri, dari foto-foto sendiri itu mereka semua dikumpulkan dan diregulasi, dikontrol dari rezim Israelnya sendiri, seolah-olah Israel itu yang sudah ada dari awal. Jadi seolah-olah sejarahnya itu Israel, bukan sejarah Palestina. Jadi dari Al-Amin Archive ini sendiri sebagai arsip, sebagai repositori sejarah itu sendiri, ini bentuk gimana melawan penjajahan-penjajahan di sektor-sektor lain, di aspek-aspek lain, itu salah satunya budaya. Karena penjajahan itu akan melekat pada sektor-sektor lain, dan cuman hanya dengan tanah. Di sini salah satunya gimana penjajahan itu melanggengkan atau semacam-macam membolehkan bentuk-bentuk imaji atau bentuk retorika tentang subjek Palestina yang seolah-olah mereka layaknya bukan manusia, seolah mereka tidak hadir, padahal mereka itu sudah hadir. Jadi itu yang Raya sebut, dan dia sangat terima kasih, dan dia juga harap mungkin ke depannya mungkin dia bisa hadir di Bandung, hadir di Indonesia, di Bandung Fotografi, atau hadir secara fisik karena untuk ke depannya lagi. Jadi I just translated what you've said and also what we've talked about, this counter narrative. And I think one of the ideas that I've learned here as well that I think is good to remind us is also the fact that this sort of colonialism doesn't only exist in the fact on this dominant narrative of a death narrative that Israel bombards Palestine, bombs people, and then takes their land, but as you've mentioned, how they culturally appropriate your history, your culture, and how somehow they've shifted it as if it was theirs. And this is also a form of colonialism in the cultural sense. So for Raya, I'd like to thank you immensely for
Thank you.
your time, not only for this artist talk, but also for bringing Al-Amin Archive to life. I've talked with you also before how much I've always admired the Al-Amin Archive and the kind of narrative it brings about Palestinian life and culture and history. So I'm immensely grateful for this conversation, previous conversations, and hopefully for future conversations with each other. And I think because this is also the final week of the exhibition, I really hope that what you've brought to us about Palestine allows to also teach us more about the culture and the life and the joy of Palestinian life and Palestinian men through these wedding portraits. So that is what I'd like to say, essentially.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll give it to Teh Grace. Aku kembalikan lagi ke Kak Grace untuk mungkin menutup secara resmi dari acaranya. So thank you everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our moderator, Hanfa Azara, for guiding this conversation with such openness and care, translating also into languages. Special thank you to Raya Mana for sharing her insights, vision, and powerful narrative of the Al-Amin Archive. I hope you, Raya, stay healthy and safe there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, for being part of this incredibly discussion. We hope that the ideas shared today will continue to resonate with you. I hope we look forward to seeing you at future events for meaningful dialogue in the world of photography and beyond. Have a great Monday. Good night, everyone. Good afternoon, Raya and Hanfa.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Free
much,
Palestine.
everyone. Yes, and free
Thank you.
Palestine. Thank you so much,
Palestine.
everyone.
Palestine. Thank you.